Thanks, Macca. A very good evening, everybody. Chelsea have gone the extra mile in pursuit of Champions League glory. All 2,500 of them, in fact, as Antonio Conte's side look to book their place in the last 16. A win guarantees progression to the knockout stages. Anything less, and it could be a nervy final group game at home to Atletico Madrid in a couple of weeks' time. With one eye on Saturday's trip to Liverpool, Conte has made 4 changes from the weekend's demolition of West Bromwich Albion. No Alvaro Morata in the starting lineup. Cahill, Bakayoko and Christensen are also rested. David Luiz returns from exile with Rudiger, Willian and Pedro the others who come in. It means Chelsea will line up with Courtois in goal, Rudiger, David Luiz, Azpilicueta in a back 3, Zappacosta and Alonso the wing backs, Fabregas and Kante holding in midfield, Pedro and Willian behind Eden Hazard as the false number 9 up front. Well, as the Champions League anthem plays over the loud tannoy, both sets of players lined up in their places ready for kick-off. The giant Champions League ball flag is being waved enthusiastically in Baku's national stadium. And Adrian Clark, this is not perhaps as easy a fixture as people would expect when they look at Chelsea's 6-0 win in the reverse game at Stamford Bridge.
No, good evening, Alex. Yeah, times have changed. Qarabag are a much improved side from that demolition at Stamford Bridge. They've found their feet at Champions League level and they've picked up some respectable results. No wins, but a couple of draws up until this point. They drew, of course, with Atletico Madrid home and away, and I think they've taken so much heart from that.
There's a giant red banner engulfing the stand on the far side of the ground. It reads, "Far away from home, but back where you belong." Well, it certainly is far away from home for Chelsea. This is in fact the longest European trip they have ever made. 11 hours they will spend flying to and from the Azerbaijan capital, but it will be all worth it, Adrian, if they can get the win that guarantees their place in the knockout stages without having to worry about that final group match.
Yeah, it'll take the pressure off them, won't it? Big time. I think this is a really, really important match for Chelsea. It's been reflected in the team selection from Antonio Conte. He's gone strong. Okay, one or two of the big guns, Bakayoko and Morata, have been left out, but that aside, he has gone with tried and tested, very experienced team. They need to get the job done here so they can just take it easy against Atletico Madrid and not play with it under any kind of pressure on match day 6. They could do without that. Got to say, it's not an easy place to come here in Baku. Fabulous stadium, and the fans are really, really pumped up for this one.
Says here, Azpilicueta, Chelsea skipper for the night, with Cahill amongst the substitutes, has just shaken hands with his opposite number, the veteran Rashad Sadigov. He turns 36 in June. He was 13 years skipper of the Azerbaijan national team. Just in terms of the team news coming out of the home lineup, we knew that Pedro Henrique would be suspended. That means Dino Unlove returns from a ban. He will lead the line up front. He was their 15-goal top scorer last season. They also have a player just behind Unlove in the form of Michel, who will be familiar perhaps to Birmingham City supporters listening. He had a year at St Andrews back in 2010. He's a Spaniard, and he scored the goal when Qarabag held Atletico Madrid to a 1-1 draw. Now the Qarabag lineup in full then is Shajic in goal, Medvedev, Sadigov, Rezniak and Angola the back 4, Almeida and Garayev in front of them, Guria, Michel and Madatov behind, and Love up front. And it is going to be Qarabag in their all-black strip, shooting from right to left. You've got us up and running here on TalkSport 2. Chelsea all in white, shooting from left to right in this first half. Remember, a victory for the Premier League champions will see them qualify for the knockout stages for the 14th time.
Yeah, got a terrific record, haven't they, Chelsea, in the Champions League group stages. They normally do the job, but this is a test for them. Not an easy place to come. Obviously a long journey here as well, but based on that 6-0 thrashing earlier on in the season, they've got to feel pretty confident, even though we expect this to be much closer.
They've got an early free kick. Zappacosta was just poleaxed on the halfway line, so it's going to be a free kick for Chelsea just inside their own half. You can hear already, every time the English side are in possession, there are loud boos from the home supporters. Tickets for this game were changing hands, would you believe, for just £4.50. I think it would have cost a bit more for Chelsea fans in air miles. And it's Chelsea enjoying the Lions' share of possession in these early exchanges. Antonio Rudiger plays it back to David Luiz inside the centre circle. Zappacosta has won a throw in midway inside the Qarabag half. Antonio Conte, always animated, is already out on the edge of his technical area.
Yeah, he's got the old 5 o'clock shadow this evening. Bit of stubble there for Conte, but look, it's a patient start from his side, just popping the ball around, trying to dampen the enthusiasm of this Baku crowd. Very hostile.
That will be the first job for sure. Zappacosta trying to keep it in play, but it's ushered behind by Anzi Angolai, the Albanian, so it's a goal kick for Qarabag. Their coach Gurdan Gabanov is a former Azerbaijan international, the most successful manager in the history of the Azerbaijan League. They've won 4 titles in a row of Qarabag after twice almost going bust in their recent history.
Yeah, it's quite a story. Of course, they're not a club from Baku. Their region is war-torn area, so they're unable to play there, so they're a long way from home. I think that's why the banner that we can see is proclaiming that, a long way from home, but back where they belong, and that is, of course, in the Champions League. Very proud club. They're just thrilled, aren't they, to be part of this, mixing it in the company of Chelsea, Roma, Atletico Madrid, and it shows how far Azerbaijani football has come in recent years. There's certainly a country, not just in football, but in sports as a whole, that's certainly on the up.
Yeah, Qarabag play their domestic matches at a stadium which holds just over 5,000 people. You can get almost 70,000 inside this national stadium. I wonder if they might help Chelsea actually, make it less intimidating.
But possibly, Chelsea are used to lovely stadiums like this one. 5,000 size stadiums are certainly not the norm for these Chelsea players, and it doesn't get any easier. Take it from me, someone that's played at sort of all levels of the game, it doesn't necessarily get any easier or less hostile when you have the smaller crowds.
Mind you, I saw them play at Bournemouth the other week, the smallest ground in the Premier League, and they're absolutely sensational, Chelsea. Here is David Luiz, has the ball on the edge of his own penalty area, just plays it nervously back to Thibaut Courtois. Plenty of eyes on David Luiz this evening, giving his rumoured fallout with Antonio Conte. Here's Pedro now, just dribbles his way into the Qarabag half. He's trying to release Willian down the right hand side. Willian dispossessed though by Gurayev, and it's cleared upfield but given away. Hazard with a little flick to keep possession for Chelsea. Fabregas into the feet of Willian, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Had it stolen from his toe, but it still ends up in a shot from Fabregas, which is saved well down low to his right by Ibrahim Shajic.
Decent strike from Cesc Fabregas. He's the playmaker, the deep line playmaker in this particular game. Burst forward there though. Nice touch from Pedro inside the box. Controlled it neatly inside the D. Lays it onto Fabregas. Hits it first time. It's a real stinger. The keeper nice and comfortably down to save it.
You are listening to Qarabag against Chelsea in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Direct Line van insurance that keeps you moving. It's Qarabag trying to move forward here, but the referee has penalised Michel for a high foot. Free kick chipped forward by Fabregas, brought down neatly by Willian, then scoops it out to Hazard down that left hand side. Hazard dropping very deep but managing to maintain possession. It's with N'Golo Kante now, and here is Zappacosta back to Kante. Hazard trying to weave his magic. He's been in great form of late, Eden Hazard. And here's a chance for Marcus Alonso to drive across into the penalty area, stabbed away by Sadigov, and it will be collected by Fabregas 2 yards in from the touchline. Plays it into the penalty area. Pedro can't bring it under control, and it is a goal kick for the Horsemen.
Yeah, it's the right idea from Marcus Alonso there. Very narrow, this 4-1-4-1 formation from Qarabag is disciplined. It's a really good shape that they're keeping, which I think will maybe make Chelsea's wing-backs the most important players. They could be the spare guys with everyone else tucked in, and Alonso got himself up into the final third there. And what I liked about what he did, he didn't take 2 or 3 touches. He tried to play the cross first time and catch the defence off guard before they were set. Unfortunately, his cross found a black shirt, but it's the right idea.
Mistake there from Gurayev, just misplaced a pass, straight out of play for a Chelsea throw, 7 or 8 yards inside the Qarabag half. It goes back for Rudiger. Here is Azpilicueta with that captain's armband halfway down his left arm. Luiz nonchalantly knocks it across to Rudiger in the blue boots, and then Fabregas underhit the pass which was intended for the German. Marcos Alonso tracking back well and wins possession back for Chelsea. David Luiz with room to run into on the halfway line. Again, it was Hazard with the effortless little flick forward, and then the cross from Alonso is intercepted by Rezniak, the Pole.
Yeah, again, Alonso the spare man on that far left-hand side.
Here come Chelsea again. Eden Hazard warming to his task, but just too many black shirts in the way, and they're playing their way out neatly from the back here. Qarabag. You can hear the roar go up because they're in possession now, deep in Chelsea territory. And it took a really good intervention from Azpilicueta sliding in to dispossess Madatov down the left-hand side.
Yeah, Madatov had got himself into a really good area. The goalie had sparked the move initially. First time we've really seen Qarabag in possession of the ball. And the fans just so excited whenever they take possession. They just come alive. I think that is... I've almost got too much respect for Chelsea. I think that might be part of the problem they've had in the Champions League so far this season. They're just so happy to be here, but they need to show no respect on the pitch and really get in the faces of the Chelsea players, and so far we haven't seen that. Because
they still have a more than decent chance of qualifying for the Europa League, of course, by finishing third in the group. They will, like Chelsea, have an eye on Atletico Madrid's match against Roma later on. Chelsea won't need to worry too much about that. If they're to win here, they will be guaranteed their place in the knockout stages, but having to defend. It's just an overhit pass which Zappacosta has been robbed on the edge of the penalty area, and the shot fizzed in by Madatov, which was blocked. The pass initially from the right-hand side was from Michel. I think he was looking for Love. He hit that behind the striker, and it should have been a routine clearance from Zappacosta, but he was just caught dilly-dallying.
So sloppy from Chelsea's defenders there. First Rudiger, he got drawn out of position. It was unnecessary. I think he switched off mentally, and they managed to get the ball in behind him. It comes to Madatov, well, it comes to Zappacosta on the left. He just doesn't clear his lines. He dawdles on the ball, and Madatov robbed him and very nearly made Chelsea pay.
Here come Qarabag again down the right-hand side. This time Marcos Alonso got there first and just watched the ball behind for a goal kick. But the last couple of minutes, the atmosphere's gone up. They've started to get more possession. They've started to fancy this a bit more, I think, the Azerbaijan champions.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a miscommunication between Fabregas and Zappacosta. Fabregas left it to his wing-back, who's really indecisive. That might be a problem for Chelsea tonight. I wouldn't expect it to be, but it can sometimes happen in matches like this that you are expected to win. Maybe some of these Chelsea players might think they can get away with playing at half pace tonight. But based on what we've seen so far, maybe not.
They've come unstuck a couple of times already in the Premier League this season, haven't they? By perhaps underestimating the opposition, not least against Burnley on the opening weekend. Here's David Luiz, plays it forward to Willian. Willian into the feet of Fabregas, who helps it back to David Luiz inside his own half. We've played 10 minutes here on TalkSport 2. It remains Qarabag 0, Chelsea 0. A draw could be enough to guarantee Chelsea's progression tonight, depending on what happens between Atletico and Roma. They would need Atletico to win that game. Here is Kanta, deep in Qarabag territory, but they've got plenty of men back behind the ball, and Chelsea have been forced to go all the way back to their goalkeeper Courtois.
I think they'll be really pleased so far. Qarabag, their shape has been excellent. They've not been stretched or turned really. The only problems they've had when Alonso's been allowed to deliver the ball from the left-hand side. Other than that, they're blocking spaces really well, and Chelsea superstars are unable to find any way through. And just sense there we see Hazard knock the ball out of play with a crossfield pass. A little bit of frustration.
Does the fact that they're having to play Eden Hazard up front indicate the fact that they're very short of striking options this season? Because of course Batshuayi is injured. Tammy Abraham, who maybe could fill that role, is out on loan.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean they shouldn't have loaned Abraham out. I think he could could have been very useful to them this season. And Batshuayi obviously is the only backup to Morata, and he's not fit at the moment. So yeah, they are woefully short really. Hazard can play up top, but he's a very different type of striker.
Kante floats the ball towards the far post. Apocosta was the intended target. He just allowed Angola to head it behind, and Chelsea had the first corner of the evening. I don't know whether to call it evening or afternoon. Tea time, I suppose.
Tea time, yeah. Evening in Baku. It was good defending though from Angola at the far stick. The left back watched the ball onto his head.
Fabregas is going to take the corner. It's a right-footed outswinger. David Luiz climbed well, but couldn't direct his header on target. Goes down as another chance though for Chelsea.
Yeah, it's only a half chance. He's underneath the ball. David Luiz, not the easiest header to attack. The ball in from Fabregas was a little bit too loopy. Really interested to see how David Luiz fares tonight. Could do with a big performance, couldn't he? Christensen's come in his absence since he was
done pretty well.
Done very well, yeah. Chelsea 2 clean sheets on the bounce. There's no reason for Antonio Conte to leave Christensen out of the side, and that puts David Luiz in a precarious position really. I think he needs to impress his gaffer tonight.
Richard Almeida, good ball out to this left-hand side. Good footwork as well by Madatov. Michel takes over, 15 yards outside the Chelsea penalty area. He plays it out to his right-hand side. He's going to fall for Michel in the box, and he smashed it against the post. And on the rebound, over the bar from Almeida, Qarabag inches away from taking the lead. And it was Michel, the former Birmingham City man, who's rattled the frame of the goal.
Oh, how close did Michel come here to open in the scoring. It's a beautiful piece of football, lovely 1-2, and then Michel breaks into the box from central midfield, runs onto a loose ball, and he's only 8-9 yards out. He blasts it. I think he could stay calmer here, Michel, and just slot it past Thibaut Courtois. He goes for power, and it crashes off the crossbar and down into the goal mouth. Real let-off for Chelsea.
And here come Chelsea at the other end. Well, that spurred them into action, because it's been a pretty listless start, in all honesty, from Antonio Conte's men, and they've given the ball away inside the Qarabag penalty area. Michel, who hit that rocket shot, was the man who scored in the 1-1 draw against Atletico Madrid. What a double that would have been.
Oh, not half, but I think he should have scored. He got himself into a great area. I loved the anticipation. He saw where the loose ball was running. Nobody went with him. But once he was there, I think he could have stayed calmer and just gone for the low finish, curled it into the bottom corner, and he just put his laces through it. And, well, very lucky really for Chelsea that it crashed off the underside of the bar.
Here's Alonso hugging that left touchline. Hazard tries to make a run ahead of him. He goes back for Rudiger, still well inside the Qarabag half. Qarabag with everybody bar and love back behind the ball. Kante comes slowly forward, and then Fabregas tries to chip it towards Willian, headed away by the skipper Sadigov, and then the clearance completed over the halfway line. We played 15 minutes. It remains Qarabag 0, Chelsea 0. A reminder, there's more Champions League commentary over on TalkSport following this match. Mark Saggers and the team will bring you live coverage of Manchester United's trip to Basel, while here on TalkSport 2, Ian Dante will be at Molineux for live, uninterrupted commentary of Wolverhampton Wanderers against Leeds United. Wolves very much the dominant force in the Championship so far this season. Latest score in the match in Manchester United's group actually kicked off at 5 o'clock, same time as this one. CSKA Moscow have taken the lead against Benfica. CSKA Moscow 1, Benfica 0 in Manchester United's group. Just scrolling up, going to form that one, because Benfica have had a bit of a nightmare in the Champions League this season. They go into that match without a single point to their name. It means United will need a point in Basel if they're to top that group, having already qualified. It's always great fun, Adrian, working out the permutations as we enter the closing stage of the Champions League. We need to hire Carol Vorderman, not Adrian Clark.
Yeah, not the right guy.
Here's Willian now in the penalty area, gets his shot away, but it's charged down by Sadigov, and he's out for a throw.
Well, it's hotting up, that is for sure. Chelsea, I think, have woken from their stupor. Very lethargic start, just popping the ball around nicely enough, but not really playing at any kind of tempo. Whenever Qarabag have had the ball, they've posed a little bit of a threat to these white-shirted Chelsea players. So, yeah, I see last couple of minutes I've seen a bit more zip about the Londoners.
Fabregas, good ball into the area, looking for Zappacosta, and it was a diving header from Manitov back to his keeper. He had to make it, otherwise Zappacosta was in.
Oh, it's a magnificent pass from Cesc Fabregas, just looking to clip it over the left back. We did go over the left back, and it was the left winger Manitov that was very disciplined, did his part of the job really, really well there for Qarabag. Cesc Fabregas has been in outstanding form, hasn't he? 35 chances he's created in the Premier League. That's more than anybody else in the top division, and he hasn't started every game, Cesc Fabregas. So he's having a good campaign.
What have you made of Chelsea's form overall this season? Because of course they were criticised by fans and by the media for letting so many players go, really, but they're there or thereabouts, aren't they? Here's Fabregas. We'll come back to that lovely ball again by Fabregas, looking for Pedro this time in the penalty area. Thought he was unfairly challenged, but the assistant on this near side kept his flag down, and Qarabag now will try and clear it back upfield.
It's quality, wasn't it, for Cesc Fabregas? Just dropped it into Pedro's path inside the 18-yard line. I think it's a 50-yard pass. Terrific.
Here he is again, Fabregas. Very much Chelsea's playmaker in the last couple of minutes. Squeezes that one through to William. William with a left-footed shot. He's hit his own man inside the area. Hazard tried to get out of the way, but he couldn't. But it's almost like that chance for Qarabag when Michel was denied by the frame of the goal has woken Chelsea up.
Definitely, yeah. No, they were sleepwalking. That much was clear to see. In answer to your previous question about Chelsea's start to the season, I think it's been patchy. Surprise slip-ups, obviously, against Burnley and Crystal Palace. But I think rumours of their demise are a bit premature. But from what I've seen, they could be the closest challengers to Manchester City. I think they're going to have a pretty decent season. I think they'll definitely be in the top four come the end of the campaign. Chelsea. It is that lack of options up top that could crucify them really in the second half of the season. If something happens to Morata and Batshuayi, they've got big problems.
Here is Rudiger inside the centre circle, stretches out those long legs and then finds Hazard for once. The Belgian can't keep possession, and here comes Unlove at the other end. He's very much on his own, but he's got away from David Luiz and needed Thibaut Courtois to come sliding in and pluck the ball.
That's some positive from Unlove. 1v1, he didn't hesitate. Sometimes you get players on the big stage up against the superstar players, they take the easy option. He didn't there. He tried to take David Luiz on, didn't quite manage it.
Great ball from Hazard, they're into Willian, he goes down inside the penalty area, and the referee awards Chelsea a penalty, and it could be worse for Qarabag because it's a straight red card for their captain Sadigov. The Azerbaijan side down to 10 men. It was a delightful through ball from Hazard to release Willian. His heels were clearly clipped, certainly at first glance, by Sadigov. He looks absolutely distraught, but it was a clumsy challenge. Willian was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and I think Adrian Clark, you have to say that the Portuguese official has probably got that one right.
Wow, what a game-changing moment this is. Willian does ever so well to get the wrong side of Sadigov from a lovely slip pass from Eden Hazard. Do you know what? I'm not as convinced as you are, Alex. It's a tangle of arms. Looks to me as if Willian is looking to go down. I didn't see a tangle of legs. I certainly didn't see a deliberate trip from Sadigov. I think the Qarabag defender is extremely unlucky to face this double punishment. What a big moment. Now, what a swing this particular incident could have on this match and the group.
I just think it was clumsy. He let Willian get the wrong side and he just leant into him.
He did, but I just feel as if Willian's gone down very, very easily there. I don't blame him for doing it. I don't think the referee's made an obvious blooper, but I feel sorry for Sadigov. He did not do a lot wrong there, apart from his positioning. Very wrong.
It's taking a long time, Sadigov, to make his exit from the field. They're just deciding who will take the captain's armband. Medvedev has taken the responsibility, and it will be Eden Hazard, who's had a long time to think about where he's going to put this penalty.
Not ideal.
Who is going to take the spot kick for Chelsea. He looks distraught, Sadigov, as he makes his way back to the tunnel. But what a big moment in the match this could be. 21 minutes gone, Qarabag 0, Chelsea 0. Eden Hazard looking for his 6th goal of the season, his 3rd in the Champions League, having scored twice against Roma at Stamford Bridge. Hazard against Shajic, the Bosnian goalkeeper. Here comes Hazard, steps up, right-footed into the bottom corner. The goalkeeper goes the wrong way, and Chelsea have the lead in Baku, and they have 1 foot in the Champions League knockout stages. Eden Hazard, very much their man of the moment, makes it Qarabag 0, Chelsea 1.
Cool as you like from Eden Hazard. The run-up was nonchalant, and he just waited for the goalkeeper to make his move, and he did. He just leant to his right-hand side, Shajic, and Eden Hazard said, "Okay, thank you very much." He's got his head up at all times as he takes that spot kick. The Belgian just rolls it into the bottom corner. Very, very calm, and a huge moment for Chelsea.
You are listening to Qarabag against Chelsea in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Direct Line, de facto 5-star rated van insurance with no admin fees. And as it stands, Chelsea top of the group, 10 points from 5 games, Roma 2 points behind, but of course they have Atletico Madrid to contend with later. Here come Chelsea again. It was another lovely pass from Cesc Fabregas to Pedro this time, who just peeled off the shoulder of the defender, but he couldn't keep it in play. How many 50-yard balls from Cesc Fabregas have we seen tonight?
Wow, 4 or 5 already. We're only 22 minutes into this game. His distribution is on the money, Cesc Fabregas. He's having a much better campaign, and I'm not at all surprised that Antonio Conte wants to put him out on the pitch every week at the moment. He's almost as if he's tailoring the system to crowbar Fabregas into it, especially when he's in the Premier League, when he's been using Bakayoko, Kante and Cesc Fabregas at the expense of a Willian or Pedro. I don't blame him, because Fabregas is delivering a lot of creativity. He's been superb, but it was that Hazard pass, wasn't it? Really nicely weighted ball for the run of Willian that caused that problem for Sadigov. Poor defended. I still feel that I just genuinely feel sorry for him. He didn't do a lot wrong there, and his team now find themselves 1-0 down, and he is sat on the bench unable to take part.
Just naivety from Sadigov, for a man with more than 100 caps for his country, to allow Willian to get on the blind side and then give the referee a decision to make. The decision was a straight red card. Here's Fabregas with the cross into the penalty area, and on the volley Pedro can't get it on target.
It's a weak volley in the end, not the easiest one for Pedro, left-footed. We've seen him score some cracking goals, haven't we, already this season? He's in and out of the team, but Fabregas just floats it to the D, and he's standing right in the centre of the D, and it's a shinner. Hits the top of his shin, rolls down to the bottom of his shin, off his boot, and dribbles quite horribly wide in the end. Not a pretty effort from the Spaniard, but we know he's capable.
Just ruins the game for a neutral, doesn't it? Because Qarabag had more than played their part in the opening 20 minutes. They had chances themselves, with a one against the bar from Michel. But you feel now with Chelsea, with all their experience, and they're meant for the big stage, they will just pass Qarabag to death.
Yeah, it could be a very long evening for Qarabag now.
A big blow to their Europa League hopes as well.
Yeah, which would have been a bonus in this really tough group they've been drawn. But you're thinking about Sadigov, what can he do there? He's got the wrong side. I guess in hindsight, you almost back your goalkeeper there. You don't make any kind of contact, and you hope that your goalkeeper can pull off a save. Your manager sometimes wouldn't be happy with you for doing that, and so why can't you make an effort to challenge him? But now he's off the pitch, and he's no good to the gaffer now.
It's a weak defensive header by Rezniak, and the cross from Alonso is chested back to Shajic by Angolai, the fullback, with the spiky haircut. I think he's a spiky character as well. Their manager, Gurdanov, he's out on the edge of his technical area. Looks like a nightclub bouncer. You wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley, would you?
No, I wouldn't want to meet many people in a dark alley, to be honest, Alex. But yeah, he looks quite sinister. I know where you're coming from. But yeah, look, he's got some organising to do now. It's one of those. It has to be damage limitation, and then maybe later on, if they can miraculously hold Chelsea to just 1-0, maybe they can think about nicking a draw later on. But it's such a mountain for them to climb now.
And they have started to give the ball away. We saw Richard Almeida with the bold head there, squander possession cheaply. They can't afford to do that. And Love, who you feel is going to be very isolated for the rest of the game, comes over to this near touchline, can't keep the ball in play, and it will be a throw-in for Chelsea inside their own half.
Well, I hope he's feeling fit tonight, Dino and Love, because he's going to have to get through an awful lot of running, a lot of thankless running as well, chasing, closing down Chelsea players. This isn't going to be a pleasant experience for the home side, you suspect, and especially with this man Fabregas in such good form.
Lovely little flick from Pedro as well. Hazard trying to help it on to Willian, who's gone down theatrically on the edge of the penalty area, having fouled Angolai. Willian will be booed now every time the ball comes anywhere near him, having gone down for the penalty that separates the two sides. Eden Hazard took and converted the spot kick, and Rashad Sadigov, the captain of Qarabag, shown a straight red. Here is Almeida though, as Chelsea give it away on the halfway line. Good run from him into the feet of Love, who can't hold it up, and the gangly Alonso will knock it forward towards the halfway line.
Yeah, Almeida and Michel, they look the two best players for Qarabag. They're the guys in the centre of the pitch. Without the ball, they haven't been able to influence anything. They haven't got close enough to Fabregas or Kante. But when Qarabag have broken forward, they've ran with the ball. They've shown a bit of drive and enterprise, those two guys. So what they need though is for Qarabag to get themselves up the pitch into the Chelsea half, so they can make contributions that count. That might be the stumbling block for them.
This is TalkSport 2, your station for over 500 games alongside TalkSport across this season. That's more football than anyone else. Chelsea, a goal to the good, and as it stands, on course for a place in the knockout stages of the Champions League. Chelsea, of course, winners of this competition back in 2012. Could they challenge for the giant trophy once again, Adrian Clark?
Outsiders, I would imagine. I'd say that Manchester City have got the best chance of all the English raiders. Maybe Manchester United I'd put ahead of Chelsea as well, based on what they did in the Europa League last year. But look, they're capable. I mean, they can defend. Showed that last season when winning the title, and they've got, when everybody's fit, they've got an excellent forward line. So it wouldn't surprise me if they reach the quarter-finals. Anything beyond the quarters would be a fabulous achievement, I think, for Chelsea.
We all remember those titanic tussles between Chelsea and Liverpool in the knockout rounds, and when Manchester United beat your old club Arsenal in the semi-final. Are we seeing a stage where perhaps all of the English sides can go deep into the draw?
It feels that way. Yeah, it does. And it's been a long, long time since English clubs have had that quality really in the Champions League. You haven't seen them going deep into the competition, but this year they are absolutely flying, and I could realistically see all of them making the knockout stages, and probably maybe half of the quarter-final lineup could be made up of Premier League teams, which would be absolutely fantastic. I also feel that there's been a dip in Spain with Real Madrid and Barcelona, but Bayern Munich, not the team they were, and even Juventus, I don't think they're setting the world alight this season either. So the door is ajar, that's for sure.
Angolai, long breaking ball upfield for Qarabag, carries all the way through to Thibaut Courtois and his bright yellow goalkeeping strip away to our left. We've reached the half-an-hour mark. Chelsea leading by Eden Hazard, penalty to nil, as Kante floats it out to Azpilicueta down the right hand side. What a servant he's been for Chelsea down the years. Macca and Adrian touched on that in the build up to the game. He says all you need to know about his stock at Stamford Bridge, that he's wearing the captain's armband. Here is Azpilicueta, floats in the pass. Hazard with a little glancing header straight down the throat of Ibrahim Shayet.
Oh, that's wonderful. It really is, from Cesar Azpilicueta. We've seen already this season, he's got that ability to whip crosses in with his right foot from the centre-half position onto the head of a Chelsea player. He's made, I think, 5 goals for Alvaro Morata this season. Most of them have been crosses for his compatriot's head. This was a carbon copy. It was onto the head of Eden Hazard. Decent effort from him, straight down the goalkeeper's throat.
Here's Angolai for Qarabag, deep back inside his own half. It's played forward by Jakub Rezinak. Now foul by Kante. Qarabag protesting to the referee every time there's an infringement. Manuel de Souza, the Portuguese man in the middle, who awarded that penalty. Michel tries to play it forward down the right-hand side, and it was well watched by Rudiger. Back to his goalkeeper Courtois. Michel puts the ball back for Qarabag on the halfway line, and Almeida, the Brazilian-born Azerbaijan international, plays it back into his own half. Another foul by Willian. More boos from the home supporters. Almeida allowed to turn into some space inside the Chelsea half. It was picked up by Michel, couldn't control on this occasion, and he's back now with Rudiger inside the Chelsea 18-yard box.
Yeah, look, they've regrouped quite well actually, Qarabag. Their chins haven't, they've picked their chins up off the floor. They were there initially on the back of that red card and the penalty concession, but yeah, I think mentally they're in a much better place at the moment. They've got that shape back which they had in the first 10-15 minutes, and all they've got to do is keep it this way, just quieten the match down, and you never know, in the second half it's still 1-0, they might be able to take the odd gamble or two.
Yeah, the way they've regrouped, Guerrero has gone over to right back, and Medvedev has shifted into the centre alongside Rezniak, so still got that back four as Chelsea come marauding forward again. Ball aimed at Zappacosta, and it's given away inside their own penalty area. Hazard couldn't quite make it stick, and then it was strong play by Almeida, who launches it forward for Love. Oh, great pace by Rudiger. Came all the way over from the left-hand side and snaffled the ball away from Love just when he felt like the 18-yard box was at his mercy.
Well, I won't say this too many times this season, but Rudiger reminded me of Usain Bolt there, the way that he heads up the turf. It was as if he started his run really slowly and you thought Love's going to get in here, and he just, well, he was so quick to get across the pitch and to tidy up there. That was like Bolt at his best.
Chelsea have got another corner here. The ball was launched forward into the penalty area, looking for the head of Hazard. He was happy to allow Jakub Rezniak just to turn it behind, and it is Hazard, the goal scorer, who comes across to this right-hand side to take the corner. We've got 12 and a half minutes to go until half-time. Cesc Fabregas actually has ball back until Hazard to go away. It's a good delivery as well. David Luiz with a flying header, but it was well off target. Another gilt-edged chance for David Luiz from a set piece. Wonderful delivery from the right peg of Cesc Fabregas. He climbed well enough, David Luiz, but did he just take his eye off the ball at the last moment?
I think he closed his eyes. I really do. Just seeing a replay on the monitor of that incident, and what we couldn't see initially was Sadigov had him by the arm, didn't he? He was covered up in the initial.
Told you, Stonewall penalty.
I'll take it back, Alex Kirk. I will take it back. That was a penalty, and actually in that 1v1 situation, I guess Sadigov has to go. But we've only seen it from the replay on the other side of the field. You can clearly see he's got him by the wrist, pulls at Willian, and that's the reason he hits the deck.
You've got to say it was brave refereeing to take on this baying crowd and send off their skipper so early in the game.
Definitely. Not going back to that Luiz chance. I think he closed his eyes, Alex, from that corner. It was a decent delivery from Cesc Fabregas. It's a wet, slippery ball here in Baku, but he just glanced off the side of his forehead. Not a great header, really, the Brazilian.
10 minutes to go until half-time. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 1. Chelsea within touching distance of the last 16. As long as it stays 1-0, Qarabag will feel they are still very much in the game. That was good play by Madatov, just to barge Zappacosta off the ball. It's gone all the way back now to Rezniak. And the blue boots trots forward towards the halfway line, then plays it out to the left and goal line. Back to Rezniak. Certainly not panicking, Qarabag, being a goal down and a man light. And here is Almeida again, allowed to turn into space on the halfway line. Floats it in towards Michel, just cushioned it back into the centre circle. And Guerrero, good spell of possession this from Qarabag, but Chelsea have got plenty of men back behind the ball themselves. Here's Medvedev, now wearing the captain's armband. Forward to Michel with dancing feet, skips away from Alonso and then plays it into the penalty area, looking for the run of Love. It was just slightly overhit and it's behind for a goal kick. They worked it well from back to front there, though.
They really did. It was patient football, and again it was Almeida initially involved, and then Michel. He rolls Marcos Alonso. It's really weak defending actually from the Chelsea wing back. He allows the player to get past him far too easily, and he's looking to slip in and Love in behind David Luiz, and that's a clear game plan from Qarabag. They think that Love has got the pace on David Luiz and Rudiger and Azpilicueta. So far though, Chelsea's back three have got their distances right.
Fabregas into Pedro, lays it off to Willian, back heel from Hazard. Willian tucks it in. It's a lovely, lovely goal that surely secures the win and Chelsea's place in the knockout stages. You won't see a better team goal than that anywhere in Europe tonight. Lovely interplay. Hazard with a mercurial back heel. Willian with a finishing touch makes it Qarabag 0, Chelsea 2.
Well, it's swashbuckling football from Chelsea and an absolute pleasure to watch, I have to say. Fabregas, little flick from Pedro down to Willian. He plays a 1-2 with Hazard. Hazard back heels it into the path of Willian, and he keeps a really, really calm head, just rolls it underneath the keeper into the back of the net to score his first Champions League goal of the campaign. That is gorgeous football from the Blues.
Just what they needed before half-time, just when Qarabag perhaps were beginning to build up a head of steam. Surely now there is no way back for the 10-man hosts. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 2. Willian with his second goal of the season, his first, as Adrian has already told you, in the Champions League.
It just shows the difference between a Premier League and the Azerbaijani division, because that was a goal that was just top class. They made it look so easy, Chelsea.
What Qarabag got by way of a response. Here is Almeida, dead centre of the Chelsea half, plays it out to the left hand side, and Angola well forward. Back to Almeida, number 20 on the back of his black jersey. Here's Michel, and he finds some space on the edge of the area, crowded out in the end by Kante. And Pedro calmly just plays it along his own 18-yard line, where it's brought down by Azpilicueta.
Yeah, we saw that Antonio Conte selected a really fluid front line tonight of Pedro, Willian and Hazard. It was always going to be about movement, pass and move football, and that was what those three guys are all about. There's no surprise that they were all involved in the move leading up to the finish from Willian. So look, I think that particular strike owed much to the manager's team selection.
David Luiz, time to adjust his haircut before he makes the pass. I'm not saying Chelsea are comfortable or anything.
Did he just get his brush out of his pocket?
Incredible.
I've never seen a centre-half stop,
brush his hair and then play the forward ball.
He's pretty laid back though, isn't he?
Here is Kante in the left wing position. He's got nobody in white inside the penalty area, so he does really well to win the corner kick after Gurrier slid in and turned it behind. N'Golo Kante.
Well, he's strolling through this match, isn't he? N'Golo Kante, I mean, he's just purring. It's too easy for him, really. And I think I said earlier on that Chelsea's attitude has got to be right. They can't expect to walk through this game at half pace. Maybe now they can from 2-0 up.
And you wonder if he may make a couple of changes. Here's Hazard trying to make his way into the penalty area after Fabregas had taken a short corner. It was good defending by Gurayev, and then given away by Love straight to Pedro. He's struggling. Dino Love, the lone striker, struggling to make anything stick.
It's good work though from Pedro. He's shown good appetite in this first period. It's a big, you forget, it's a really big game for Pedro and Willian. They want to remind the manager and the Chelsea fans that they're top class players, and they'll be really frustrated not to be in the Premier League first 11 at the minute.
And in terms of those creative midfield positions, when you think Fabregas now applies his trade in a bit of a deeper role but could play third and forward, they're well stocked, aren't they?
Oh,
no problem there.
No, I mean, they're going to score goals this season. It's only centre forward position that I'm worried about. Obviously defensively they've had a few off days this season which they didn't have last year. That's mildly concerning, but I think if they've got most of their big guns fit, Chelsea, they're a match for anybody.
And it certainly helped their cause last season that they weren't playing in Europe. They only had to worry about their Premier League scheduling. Of course, it's a much different kettle of fish this time around, but so far Antonio Conte balancing both the pursuit of domestic dominance with their bid for European glory.
Yeah, and he said that he has to trust more than 13 players this season, and he really is.
Here's Pedro going up through the gears. He had his heels cut there, but he's still going. Pedro, it's a wonderful run from Pedro, and a great save by the goalkeeper Shajic. But there's going to be a yellow card because Jakub Rezniak there had about 3 bites of the cherry, but he just wouldn't go down, Pedro.
Wow, he was like a slalom skier here, Pedro, zigzagging up and down the centre of the pitch. It was absolutely fabulous. They took 3 or 4 chunks out of his ankle. He refused to go down, and even at the end he still tries to nick the ball past the goalkeeper. He's stumbling as he takes the shot, and the goalkeeper does really well to narrow the angle in the end. But that was magnificent speed and balance from Pedro. Brilliant.
I think the referee has pulled it back for a Chelsea free kick as well, so maybe Qarabag not out of danger just yet.
That's a free kick. Deservedly. I mean, there could have been 3 or 4 free kicks in.
Could have been 3 or 4 yellow cards.
Yeah,
they could have booked them all.
It was a sensational dribble. Real zigzagger.
Well, a third goal really would top off what's been a pretty dominant first half from Chelsea, albeit against the 10 men of Qarabag. Their captain Sadigov sent off after conceding the penalty from which Hazard opened the scoring. Willian has doubled their tally since then, and Willian is one of the 3 Chelsea players surrounding the ball, and he goes for the right-footed effort, and he's just a couple of yards wide in the end, but the goalkeeper wasn't completely sure.
Well, I've seen worse free kicks, that's for sure. He got it up and over the wall really nicely. There's a big hole the goalkeeper had left for Willian to aim at, but in the end it was probably 3 yards wide. Never really threatened, but yeah, look, it's all Chelsea now. I think they can have a lot of fun with the rest of this game. Look, if I'm Dujon Sterling sat on the bench at the moment, I'm thinking, hang on, I might get a game here, because Antonio...
You wouldn't think he's going to risk Morata in the second half, would you?
Absolutely not. I think Danny Drinkwater is almost a shoo-in to come on maybe at half-time for either Fabregas or N'Golo Conte, because the game is over. I think Chelsea, I cannot see Chelsea throwing it away from here. 2 goals up, 1 man advantage.
We've got 2 minutes plus stoppage time at the end of the first half remaining. A reminder, Sports Day is back tomorrow at 7 a.m. here on TalkSport 2. Russell Hargreaves will be bringing you your essential roundup of the morning's top sports stories. He'll look back at all tonight's action, as well as a preview of tomorrow's Europa League matches. Adrian's old club Arsenal, of course, amongst the English participants, so they're already secured of their place in the knockout round of that particular competition.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I think I can expect Arsene Wenger to blood more younger players. It's got to be better than the last game, Red Star Belgrade.
Kante with a shot from the edge of the penalty area for Chelsea, blocked by Rezniak, and then cleared up towards the halfway line, where for once it is held up by Lovely. Did really well, actually. And here comes Almeida. Listen to the noise that erupts every time Qarabag, even in the Chelsea half. And Guerrero's nutmegged Alonso. It took N'Golo Kante to come over and regain the ball.
It's the caretaker there again, N'Golo Kante, just to sweep up the danger. Guerrero done really well to go past Alonso, who's not defended at all well in this first half. None of it has been costly for the Spaniard, but I think if you're talking about attitudes, I think his mind has wandered a little bit in this first period.
Here is Kante, scoops the ball over the top. Willian have made the run. It's another lovely little flick into the feet of Hazard, but he just a fraction early there. The offside flag was up on this near side. Free kick for Qarabag.
Good to what he was offside. Just seen the replay on the monitor. Good to watch this Chelsea front 3. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Alvaro Morata. I think he's a wonderful signing and one of the most accomplished young strikers, all-round strikers in Europe. I think it was a really good buy from Chelsea, but when they go with this kind of forward line with Hazard, Pedro, Willian, it's pretty dangerous. I don't think many defensive would like to come up against them.
It's a lovely bit of play on this left-hand side by Madatov. Silky footwork to get away from a couple of Chelsea challenges, but just ran out of pitch in the end. We're into stoppage time at the end of the first half. And in fact, there is the half-time whistle. Adrian Clark, Chelsea, very much in control thanks to goals from Hazard and from Willian.
Yep, Chelsea are cruising. It was a testing first 15-20 minutes for the Blues, but the game swung on that one moment. Beautiful pass from Eden Hazard for Willian, 1v1, and he is hauled down inside the box. Penalty kick, red card, and from there on in, Chelsea have really bossed this. Willian's goal was an excellent one to make it 2-0, and from here you would expect Chelsea to run out easy winners, maybe 3 or 4.
Hazard opening the scoring from the penalty spot on 21 minutes after Rashid Sadigov, the Qarabag captain, had been sent off for bringing down Willian on the edge of the area, and Willian himself applied the finishing touch to a lovely team move to make it 2-0 8 minutes before half-time. The Bujugan here for the Portuguese referee Manuel de Souza over that decision to brandish the straight red card, but I think with hindsight he probably got it right. We've come to Baku, the largest city below sea level in the world, would you believe? But so far the good ship Chelsea are chartering a smooth course towards the knockout stages of the Champions League. Half-time, Qarabag 0, Chelsea 2. And Chelsea, of course, 6-0 winners when these two met in the first game of the group at Stamford Bridge. And with Qarabag down to 10 men and Chelsea already 2 goals to the good, they will be confident of adding more goals, Adrian, to their tally in this second half.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think they can really go out there and enjoy themselves now. Chelsea, they've done the hard work. They've put themselves in a really strong position. Obviously, they've got the man advantage as well, which helps greatly. So yeah, they should pop the ball around, get a nice feel for it, and hopefully go on to score 4 or 5 goals in this game.
Chelsea all in white, shooting from right to left in the second half. They've got us back underway. Qarabag have made a change at the break. Off goes Mahir Madatov, and Joshkan Diniev, wearing 91 on the back of his shirt, is on to replace him. Shows how far he is down the pecking order, perhaps.
91. He's pretty born in 91 or something, wasn't he? That should be banned, by the way. Let's keep it 30 or below, shall we?
I'm in favour of 1 to 11. Here is Kante for Chelsea, who lead 2-0 here in Baku. Alonso down the line to Willian, scored 1 goal and made the other by going down for that penalty, which Hazard converted midway through the first half. Willian with a little chinking run, and then he's given it straight to Almeida. Now it's played down the line for their striker and Love. I suppose if Qarabag were to get a goal back, it would still give them hope they could get something from this game, even with the man disadvantage. Here's Fabregas though, a third Chelsea goal would surely kill it off. That's Peliqueta back to Fabregas. Fabregas sweeps it forward for Willian. Now to turn, then chip the ball with the outside of the foot to Hazard on this left-hand side. He's going to try and get it onto his right foot, Hazard. Qarabag were aware of that. Clear it away.
Yeah, they've just got to hold their nerve, haven't they, Qarabag? Not panic. They don't want to be on the wrong end of a hiding here. I think it's all about being resilient and dogged in this second period. They do look after the ball okay though, Qarabag. It's not as if they've parked the bus here tonight. Looking at the possession stats, they're about even. It's kind of 50-50 in terms of who's had the ball, but it is Chelsea's front 4 that are on a completely different level really to anything that Qarabag have got at their disposal.
Are you surprised that Antonio Conte hasn't maybe rested a couple of players at half-time?
I would have done, yeah. I would. It depends how fit Danny Drinkwater is, of course. We spoke ahead of kick-off about the problems he's had of late, but if he's fit enough to be on the bench, I'd imagine he's fit enough to be there. So I would have brought him on a half-time and given Fabregas or Kante a breather ahead of that huge game against Liverpool on Saturday evening. So yeah, I am surprised.
David Luiz plays it out to the left-hand side, and Rudiger makes his way forward towards the Qarabag penalty area. Marcus Alonso played almost as an old-style left winger. Plays it back to David Luiz inside the centre circle. Chelsea slowing the game down to a walking pace. To be fair, the home fans are still up for it. Plenty of noise being generated inside this Olympic Stadium. We'll be home to 4 group matches at the European Championships in 2020.
It's a fabulous arena, it really is.
It's good play by the makeshift fullback Gurria skipping away from Alonso and then winning a free kick for a foul by Kante. I'll just remind you of the Chelsea lineup, for those of you just coming in from work. Courtois the goalkeeper, Rudiger, David Luiz, Azpilicueta at back three, Zappacosta and Alonso the wing backs, Fabregas and Kante holding in midfield, Pedro and Willian behind Eden Hazard up front. That's because Morata, who would usually play up there, is amongst the substitutes. The likes of Cahill and Bakayoko and Christensen also rested for that game that Adrian has already alluded to at Anfield on Saturday tea time. Just a small matter of a 5.5-hour trip back to London before then.
Yeah, not ideal, and I think the Chelsea manager has made his feelings fairly clear about that. But it's difficult for him to know who to bring off really in this second half. I'd imagine that Hazard will be one of the first ones to come off as well, but then he won't want to necessarily risk Alvaro Morata, so he's got some awkward decisions to make really, Antonio Conte.
You are listening to Qarabag against Chelsea in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Direct Line, van insurance that keeps you moving. Chelsea certainly motoring as they lead by 2-0. Here is Azpilicueta, 10 yards inside the Qarabag half, into the feet of Hazard, couldn't quite get it out from under his studs, and it's cleared upfield by Rezniak, out for a Chelsea throw, almost right on halfway.
Anywhere will do, just lashed it there, didn't he? I think we might see more and more of that from Qarabag in the second period. They know that they're being outclassed really, and it's a case of can we keep it to 2 or 3 and come out with pride intact. This big crowd hasn't turned out to see them get stuffed, and they didn't get stuffed, did they, against Roma? Narrow defeat 2-1 there, and 0-0 with Atletico Madrid. I mean, that has to go down as a terrible result for Simeone's team.
Here's Willian, tries to get the cross in from the left-hand side. It's blocked by Rezniak and out of play.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit more mobility from Willian in the second half. It's almost as if he's taken the mantle to be the main striker, the spearhead of Chelsea's attack. It feels as if Eden Hazard's spending more time on this left-hand side. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? They can just interchange the three of them.
Chelsea had their 4th corner of the evening. Fabregas has put it too close to Shajic. Shajic, one of the understudies to Asmir Begovic, the Bournemouth goalkeeper in the Bosnian setup, plays it out to the edge of the penalty area where Rezniak brings it forward.
Yeah, Shajic had an absolute worldie against Atletico Madrid. He pulled off a lot of saves, both games against the Spaniards.
Just looking at the group situation, Qarabag will remain bottom of the group on 2 points. Atletico 1 ahead of them on 3. So it does look as if Qarabag will have to get something from their final group match against Roma to continue in Europe this season via the Europa League.
Yeah, well, I think when the draw came out, they probably thought, wow, that's us done. We're not going to make the Europa League with the 3 big teams elsewhere. But look, they're in the shake-up, aren't they? And I think they've acquitted themselves really well. Even here tonight, the heads haven't gone down.
Lovely ball again by Fabregas, plucked from the sky by Pedro. Good save by the goalkeeper. Wouldn't quite fall for Willian. It's run clear by Medvedev.
Oh, well played, Shajic in goal for Qarabag. That's a really good save. Made himself a huge target. Lovely take from Pedro. Pulled the ball out of the sky, but the keeper was off his line early doors, narrowed the angle really nicely, and then Willian can't make it on the follow-up. It comes from another Fabregas pass. Looked a bit offside, didn't it?
Super take from Pedro. That was wonderful footwork from the former Barcelona man. We've got a yellow card for Marcus Alonso, first Chelsea booking of the night. Won't make too much difference because, as Andrew McKenna was saying in the build-up to kick-off, no Chelsea players were in that situation of being 1 booking away from a ban. It was clumsy by Alonso, just stuck out the left arm and brought down Donald Gurria.
It's a terrible touch from Gurria, and it completely outfoxed Alonso, who couldn't put the brakes on in time, and he ends up clattering into the right winger, and no surprise he's picked up a yellow. He's not had a great game, Alonso, even though Chelsea are cruising. He's a bit slack. I think his focus has been fully there. But yeah, Pedro, I mean, that was a gorgeous touch. He's got a lot of ability, hasn't he? And when you consider he's not currently in Conte's first 11, that tells you the strength they've got.
Played 9 minutes in the second half. You're listening to TalkSport 2, your station for over 500 games alongside TalkSport this season. That's more football than anywhere else. And Chelsea 2 goals for good against Qarabag. In the other game, by the way, that kicked off at the same time as this one, it's CSK Moscow 1, Benfica 0. That's pertinent to Manchester United supporters because it's in their group A, and it means United will need a point in Basel tonight if they are to top the group, having already secured qualification.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine, Manchester United. But yeah, CSK making it interesting. I'm just thinking about this game and Fabregas and how good his passing has been. Just think they've stood off him way too far. If you sit off Cesc Fabregas, your back line has to drop really, really deep, because if they leave any space, he's got that ability to dink a ball over the top onto a sixpence really for one of the attackers, and we've seen him do that too often really in this match.
I just wonder, I'm sure it is a weakness in the Qarabag lineup that Antonio Conte has spotted and drilled into his Chelsea players, because Fabregas is not the only player who's trying to scoop it over the top of the 2 central defenders whenever he's had the ball at his feet. Here is in love now, back heel to Gurria, just in from the right touchline. The noise levels go up inside the National Stadium once again. David Luiz plays it forward. Hazard peeling away to the left-hand side, ran out of pitch, and it will be a throw-in for Qarabag. They're playing their way out from the back with Almeida. A distinctive bold head, shuffles possession out to the left-hand side. He's going to get it back from Angelai. Here is Michel. Arguably Qarabag's standout performer on the night, the Spanish playmaker.
Feels as if there's a murmur around the stadium at the moment. Feels as if everyone's having a chat. It's the intensity of the occasion has certainly faded a little with the scenario here.
One goal still set up a nervy finish though for Chelsea. Here is Maxim Medvedev. He scored an own goal in the 6-0 defeat at Stamford Bridge. Just looked overawed that night, Qarabag. They certainly haven't been tonight, even with the 10 men. Tried where they have been able to play their way up the pitch. Worth remembering that Michel was denied by the frame of the goal before Eden Hazard's penalty opener. If that had gone in, it could have been a really different complexion.
It was a wonderful opportunity for Michel, and yeah, I just think he needed to show a touch more composure. He lashed at the shot. It wasn't a difficult chance. I think he could have been either side of the goalkeeper.
Here's Gurria in those red boots. Plays it forward into the feet of Love. Love dispossessed by Rudiger. I don't think it was the best pass into him, actually, in fairness to the lone striker. And now Chelsea with Fabregas will come forward towards the halfway line into the path of Pedro. Pedro shuffles possession onto his left foot and then plays it low along the ground to William. William halfway inside the Qarabag half away to our left. Back infield for Fabregas. First time into the feet of David Luiz. Gives it back to Fabregas. Fabregas forward for Pedro. Rolls it out to Azpilicueta. It's a decent ball by Azpilicueta as well, trying to steer it in towards the far post where William was lurking. Just skipped away in the end and behind for a goal kick.
He's got such quality from crosses, Cesar Azpilicueta. We've seen it throughout this current campaign, and the fact that he plays at the right side of centre half does not stop him. If you allow him, he will stride into the opposition half and deliver quality from that right wing position, and it looks as if that might be one of his final contributions. He's come over to this near touchline.
It's Marcus Alonso who is being replaced by Cahill, and the reason Azpilicueta had come over was just to give the armband to the regular captain.
Silly though. I always find that strange. I think if you're captain at the start of a game, just stay captain for the rest of it. But yeah, I guess protocol, as to have it say, and you come across to give the armband to Cahill. Yeah, I just wonder whether there's something up with Marcus Alonso, or
he went straight down the tunnel, I think.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. I don't know whether he's unwell. It was a strangely subdued performance from him, and with that big game against Liverpool at Anfield coming up, I guess They don't want to be taking too many chances.
So presumably Cahill now will go into the back three, and Azpilicueta will grab to left wing back.
Yeah, and look, this is the beauty of Azpilicueta. He's so versatile. I bet you he could play in central midfield if you needed him to as well.
Could he play up front? They might need him to as the season goes on.
They might. He's just got a great football brain.
Here's Kante out to that man Azpilicueta, plays it down the line for Willian inside the penalty area. Willian took it in his stride, gives it back to Azpilicueta, who's going to cross with a right foot, headed clear by Rezniak, only as far as Cesc Fabregas though, and here's Rudiger making his way towards the penalty area, gives it to Zappacosta. Two summer signings combining over on that right touchline. Here's Kante now, halfway inside the Qarabag half, plays along the ground to Azpilicueta, into the feet of Hazard. Not for the first time in this second half. It was a poor touch from Hazard, only cleared as far as Fabregas, chips it back into the area. Medvedev it was who nodded it away, and now it's into the arms of their goalkeeper Shayic.
Yeah, again, says Fabregas. This time he's only about 30 yards out, but he got his sandwich out, just looked to dink it over that rear guard of Qarabag. Not quite enough room there for Fabregas, but I've been really impressed with his passing range tonight. Talking of Alonso and how quiet he was on the left, I'll tell you who else has been quiet. Zappacosta down that right flank. Very adventurous player normally, but he's a bit on the edge of this game. Not a great audition for him really.
Still finding his feet perhaps at Stamford Bridge. Zappacosta. Here is Almeida down by the left corner flag. There are two Qarabag players waiting for a cross. He goes back for Michel tried to play it into the feet of Love. It was intercepted by David Luiz, and back now with Rudiger. What have you made of David Luiz's performance tonight? He's just on his haunches at the moment. He caught one in the face.
Yeah, he's had nothing to do really. It's been a very comfortable evening for David Luiz. I don't think there's anything I can criticise. He's not even touched the ball that often in terms of his distribution. So no, a steady return I'd say, but certainly not an eye-catching one. Just on the subject of Zappacosta, just looking at the stats here, my eyes are not deceiving me. He's made 13 passes in this game.
And when you think
that's the lowest,
he should have been given freedom to roam in that wing-back position really, with the way that Qarabag have defended deeply.
It's the lowest of any Chelsea player by some distance. I'm not saying he's hiding, but they're not exactly feeding him on that right-hand side, and he's coasting through the match. I think for a player that should be eager to make a really big impression to Conte in the absence of Victor Moses, that's a shame.
There's been a second goal in the game in Moscow in Manchester United's group. CSKA Moscow 2, Benfica 0 now. And we'll have commentary, of course, of United's trip to Basel over on Talk Sport. Kick-off at 7:45. Here in Baku, we played 62 minutes. It remains Qarabag 0, Chelsea 2. First half goals from Hazard from the penalty spot, and then Willian just before half-time. And it's been a really professional European away day for Chelsea to this point. Here is Diniev, the substitute for Qarabag, in the white footwear, goes back to the halfway line, and Rezniak. Now Almeida takes over. Michel on the halfway line, just taps it forward for Diniev, and this is Medvedev down the right.
Put the ball around nicely, Qarabag. They're not at all a long ball team. They're not overawed by the fact that they're playing against Chelsea. They've got that confidence. A beautiful playing surface, it's got to be said, to just knock the ball around with ease. There's a nice bit of composure about them. It's just with 10 men, there's no cutting edge, and up top, Love, he's got a very isolated figure. I think I feel sorry for Love because it feels as if he's worn himself out doing a lot of off-the-ball chases. So whenever the ball does come near him, he doesn't seem to have that edge or spark about him.
The rain falling quite heavily now in Baku, but no dampening the enthusiasm of the home fans, despite the fact their team are 2-0 down against the Premier League champions. Here's Willian. Dribbles his way into the Qarabag half and wins a throw.
He's had a good game, Willian. I mean, it was a nice finish for the goal, but other than that, he's got himself into the box with regularity. think he's had more shots than any other Chelsea player tonight. So it's a little reminder from him ahead of that game at Anfield that he's ready and willing to do a job for Conte.
It'll be interesting to see Antonio Conte's lineup at the weekend. Here's Azpilicueta, he'll definitely be in it. He tries to roll the pass to Fabregas, 10 yards outside the area. It was stabbed clear by Almeida, but only as far as David Luiz. Will he be in it, you wonder, come the weekend? This is Kante into Willian. Willian, scorer of the second goal, just tiptoes his way across the area and then rolls the ball into the feet of Rudiger. They've got plenty of men back here, Qarabag, but Chelsea still have it with Kante out to the left-hand side, and Azpilicueta thought about the first time cross, plays it back to Kante and said, oh, lovely reverse pass. Hazard gets it out from under his feet. Super save again by the goalkeeper. Zappacosta on the follow-up saw his shot blocked. Another brilliant piece of play by Chelsea. Then it's chipped forward for Pedro this time and volleyed away by Guerrilla. Would have been a wonderful goal, Adrian.
Stunning save from Ibrahim Shajic. Absolutely magnificent. Flinging himself to his left to parry that Hazard shot. And it all came from a delightful reverse pass from N'Golo Conte inside the box. He just sold the whole team a dummy. Outfoxed everybody. And Hazard, as he cuts in on his right, you think, wow, this is heading for the far top corner, and it was. But Shajic pulled off a wonderful save.
Well, it would have been some way for Eden Hazard to bow out on the night, because he is making his way over to the sidelines. Alvaro Morata, who, well, we thought maybe Antonio Conte may leave in storage for the weekend, is going to get 25 minutes or so to add to his goal tally for the season. Scored in each of his last two matches, Morata. Just a shame we're not going to get to see that interplay with Hazard that has worked so well in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see it at Anfield, I have no doubt about that, providing he comes through this unscathed. Morata, I thought he was brilliant against Manchester United, scored a superb header, of course, and then another couple of goals at the weekend. Look, he's in great form, and I do see that Hazard Morata axis as being something potentially very special.
It's a different type of player to Diego Costa. I did wonder in the big games maybe they would just miss the nonsense that comes with Diego Costa and the added menace which maybe Morata doesn't possess.
Well, against Arsenal he was bullied by the centre-backs. They came through the back of him all game long, and you thought, Costa, he's not a patch on Costa, but
he's a classier centre forward, isn't he?
In most of the other games I would say he's looked an upgrade on Diego Costa. He's younger, and he's a very accomplished finisher.
Support pass by Diniev straight to Willian. Willian into Morata, getting involved straight away, trying to shift the ball onto his right foot. He ran into trouble though, and Qarabag will clear over the halfway line. Another misplaced pass, this time by Michel. David Luiz forward to Pedro, and here's Morata in the penalty area. Just slowed down his run, and that allowed Guerrilla to make the challenge and turn the ball out of play for a corner.
We've got a little glimpse here of what Morata is all about. He has got outstanding movement. The natural centre forward, he just knows his timing of his runs and the angles of his runs are what sets him apart from the average striker, which couldn't set himself for the shot there, but he's always on the move. I think he's underrated. I know he's a big name, but I still don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
24 minutes remaining. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 2. Short corner from Fabregas. He's going to get the cross in now though. Nodded down at the near post by Medvedev. Maybe a chance for Qarabag on the counter. And Love plays it into the centre circle, and Michel out to Almeida in the left wing position. He was offside, just didn't check the line. That's a let-off really for Chelsea, who committed plenty of bodies forward for the corner.
Oh, they're kicking themselves here, Qarabag. That was a really good chance actually. It was a loose ball from Chelsea inside the opposition half, and they break on them really quickly, and Almeida he just doesn't look along the line, and I think he wanted the pass played earlier. With great frustration, because they're not going to get many opportunities to score a goal in this match.
Here's Willian now into Kante, 15 yards or so inside the Qarabag half, out to Azpilicueta. Chalk on his boots on this left touchline, says Azpilicueta. This is Rudiger, gives it back to Fabregas, a little drop of the shoulder to get away from Almeida, and now Willian. Kante thought about the shot from 30 yards, but instead plays it out to Azpilicueta. He gives it back to Kante on the edge of the area. They're going sideways here, Chelsea, but they're keeping the ball. Well, Rudiger let fly, instead he plays it into the feet of Morata. Oh, he should have scored, Morata. The goalkeeper committed himself, and Morata rolls it wide of the bottom corner.
Well, this is one of those moments where Alvaro Morata is begging for the linesman to put his flag up. He doesn't, and he's embarrassed, and he will be when he sees the replay. It's a lovely little threaded pass from Rudiger, just slots it into Morata's path, who's unmarked inside the box. 1v1, 8 yards out. It's a lazy finish, really. Doesn't commit to it, he just tries to roll it past the keeper. But let's credit Shajic again. Had a great save from Hazard a minute ago. Again, he's narrowed the angle really, really quickly. I think he's been the eye catcher for me in terms of the Qarabag
maybe
players.
A player who could be on the radar of 1 or 2 Premier League clubs.
Looks alright, doesn't he?
Be better going down to his left than Joe Hart, for example.
Now. But yeah, you're right.
69 minutes play. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 2. We've also got live Europa League commentaries for you here on TalkSport and TalkSport 2 tomorrow. 6 o'clock we'll have live coverage of Arsenal's match against Cologne here on TalkSport 2. Following that, over on TalkSport, they'll bring you commentary of Everton's match against Atalanta. Might not mean too much in the grand scheme of things for Everton, but David Unsworth could do with a win. So he looks to make that job his own on a full-time basis. Nobody else seems to want it.
No, it's a strange set of circumstances at Goodison Park. I just don't know what the board are playing at.
Oh, Williams managed to squeeze the pass through for Azpilicueta. He selfishly laid it off to Morata, who was in an offside position. Had Azpilicueta gone alone there, maybe the flag would have stayed down. He's pointing to himself and saying, "What, me, ref?"
It's a rueful smile from Azpilicueta. Let's have a look on our replay.
No, he was offside, in fairness, but
he was offside. Yeah, the flag went up nice and early. He was unselfish in the end, laid it on the plate from Morata, but yeah, the linesman got that one bang on. But yeah, things are opening up, aren't they? And I'll tell you what, Morata's made a big difference. Having a proper centre forward on the field has improved Chelsea.
Fabregas trying to find Morata with a long ball over the top. It was headed away by Medvedev. Here's the substitute Diniev, and now Guria inside his own area plays it along the 18-yard box. Cardinal sin, really. And here's Willian trying to punish it. Oh, and he's given another penalty, the referee. Willian again, the man that the Portuguese official feels was impeded by Medvedev, I think this time. Well, he looked really soft. Medvedev has been shown the yellow card. Adrian Clark, you'll take on this one.
It's a soft one, that is for sure. Medvedev he's talked his way into the book. My first instinct was that it was a really, really soft penalty. It was so sloppy. Guerrier gives the ball to Gariev, who makes a real hash of it. He heads it straight to Willian, and he does have his arm
outside the box, though, wasn't it?
He has the arm on the shirt of Willian.
I don't think he's in the area.
He's definitely not in the area. He's definitely not in it. And Willian, to his credit, doesn't even go down. He plays on. I think the referee he's handed a gift to Chelsea there.
Cesc Fabregas, to a cacophony of boos, takes the long run up to surely seal this victory for Chelsea. Staggered his run, but he still found the corner. Chelsea have got a third goal. Cesc Fabregas with a penalty, or is the referee going to make him retake it? Well, more drama. The referee must have seen some encroachment.
Cesc Fabregas, celebrations curtailed. Well, there were two players. There were one player from both teams clearly went into the 18-yard box. Also, Cesc Fabregas did do quite a pronounced stutter in the run-up, which is supposed to be outlawed, but referees never seem to pull up penalty takers on that. So look, can Cesc Fabregas do part two just as well as he did part one?
Well, he's gone for the run up again, Fabregas. He went to the goalkeeper's right with the first one. Will he go the same way or change his mind? Another staggered run. He goes the same way. The keeper went that way, but he's found the corner. And Cesc Fabregas, at the second time of asking, makes it Qarabag 0, Chelsea 3. No stopping that one.
Well, this was a much more emphatic penalty kick from Cesc Fabregas. A little bit of anger in that strike from the spot kick. He punches the air into light, and it really is game over now. Chelsea lead 3-0. But should they have had that penalty? I don't think so. The tug of the shirt was outside the box.
And it was the faintest of tugs as well, wasn't it? Not that Fabregas will be complaining. It's his second goal of the season, and surely now it is game over. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 3. Fabregas so cool in that situation, because it would have been easy to change his mind. He didn't, and as Adrian said, it was a superb finish into the corner.
Yeah, it was the kind of spot kick you're never going to save. Hard and low, right into the corner. He was not messing around. I think he was frustrated that he was forced to take it again, but credit him. He kept his nerve, didn't lose his head, and he deserves a goal for his performance. I mean, he's created 5 chances this evening. He's now scored 1. It's a pretty good night at the office.
9-0 now on aggregate to Chelsea. Is that a bit harsh on Qarabag and what you've seen tonight?
Well, not in the first leg. I mean, they did deserve to lose 6-0 in that game. Tonight, I think if it finishes 3-0, it'll be about fair. They haven't offered enough going forward, obviously, since they were reduced to 10 men. They probably did deserve that goal that Michel should have hit, where he struck the crossbar after 12 minutes. So maybe a 3-1, 4-1 would probably be the fairest scoreline.
Still a party atmosphere amongst the home supporters. We've just seen a red flare go up, maybe a distress signal. And there's Danny Drinkwater, not fit enough for England duty, but fit enough to come on as a late substitute in place of Kante, the big money summer signing from Leicester.
That's an opportunity for him. He hasn't got too long. I thought he might have had the whole of this second half, but Kante has been given 74 minutes, so yeah, look, it would do Danny Drinkwater the power of good to just get a feel of the ball, see some competitive action, because they might need him this season if anything happens to one of their big guns in the engine room.
You are listening to Qarabag against Chelsea in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Direct Line, de facto 5-star rated van insurance with no admin fees. Chelsea leading by 3-0. We've got 15 minutes remaining. A reminder, straight after we're finished here, live Championship football. Wolverhampton Wanderers, the favourites for promotion to the Premier League against a Leeds side who've stuttered of late.
Should be a good game, that.
Yeah, 2 former Premier League sides battling to get back to the big time. Here's Azpilicueta. First touch for the substitute Drinkwater, plays it along to Rudiger on his right. Little flick from Morata, and he's trying to bulldoze his way through here. Morata, Fabregas flicks it forward for Morata. He's onside. It's another super save from Shajic with the legs. Well, they could have been 5 or 6 up, Chelsea, but for the home goalkeeper. Morata's gone down in the area. Well, that looked more of a penalty than the one that he gave earlier.
It did, didn't it? And that chance for Morata came from another gorgeous pass from Fabregas. Well, let's credit Shajic. That was outstanding keeping. Once again, that's 3 or 4 times now he saved his team.
They've got main committed forward here, Qarabag. Michel played it into the feet of Almeida, who ran into trouble on the edge of the Chelsea penalty area, and maybe here comes the counter-attack. It's 4-on-4. Pedro into Zappacosta, just interpreted on the line. Morata would have had a tap in, and he couldn't make the pass. It was intercepted by Rezniak.
Oh, that is dreadful. That is so poor from Zappacosta. I mean, he's had a woefully quiet evening really over at right wing back, and that's his one big moment to shine. A counter-attack, he's put in the clear on the right-hand side. All he's got, it's not a difficult ball. He's got to pass it along the face of goal from Morata to tap in, and he got it horribly wrong. Zappacosta, poor from him tonight.
Here's Maxim Medvedev. Qarabag readying another substitute. Elvin Inazade is stripped and ready to come on. It's Azerbaijan side in possession inside their own half. Can you imagine the noise level inside this place if they were to get on the score sheet?
Yeah, that's the one thing they really came to see. I don't think many Qarabag fans really thought that they'd beat Chelsea here tonight, but they would love to have seen a goal, and they came so close in that first period. Haven't really threatened Courtois' goal since half-time. Also composure, some nice passing. Goalkeeper's been superb, but no chances.
It's been a pretty comfortable night for Courtois. He might have a save to make here, though. Gurrier, the curling left-footed effort straight into the gloves of Chelsea's goalkeeper.
If he had a cap on, he'd have thrown it on that ball. It wasn't hard. Strike from Guerrier, about 30 yards out. He's looking to curl it into the top corner, but it was one of those, you know, could have patted it down, could have chested it down. It wasn't, no pace on the strike.
Qarabag 0, Chelsea 3. 12 minutes plus stoppage time. Chelsea know that when the Champions League returns early in the new year, they will very much be amongst the party. Morata, lovely footwork into Azpilicueta. Willian trying to turn into space on the edge of the area, but it was a good piece of defending by the substitute Diniev. And here's Almeida as the roar goes up again. Almeida trying to drag Rudiger out of position. He had his heels clipped. It's going to be a free kick for Qarabag over on the left touchline.
Well, you've got to admire the tenaciousness of Almeida there. He was running down an absolute blind alley into the left-hand channel. He didn't have the pace to get away from Rudiger, who stuck to his task. And Rudiger, well, it was a cardinal sin really, just put his hand on Almeida, who said, "Oh, cheers for that." Hits the deck and wins a very cheap free kick that the Chelsea defender shrugs his shoulders at.
They played a free kick, Qarabag, all the way back to the halfway line.
Yeah, a bit defensive there.
They're looking tired now,
Oh, they're knackered. That is the huge difference that I don't think we always appreciate for the nations that make it to the Champions League from weak domestic leagues. The difference in standard is just colossal. They're not used to playing against teams of this standard that play at this pace, that make them chase anywhere near as much. And yeah, fitness definitely comes into play.
Especially when you've been playing with 10 men since the 21st minute of the game.
Yes.
For those of you just tuning in, Chelsea taking the lead with an Hazard penalty after Sadigov, the home captain, had been dismissed for bringing down Willian. Willian doubled the lead at the end of a lovely team move 8 minutes before half-time, and Fabregas with the second penalty. Looked a bit harsh, that one, after Willian had his shirt tugged. Made it 3-0. Had to take it twice after the referee from Portugal spotted some encroaching when he dispatched the first one, Fabregas. Had a busy night, the official.
Yeah, very busy. Yeah, I don't think he's nailed every single decision. Chelsea have certainly had the rub.
They'd have won the game anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course they would. Yeah, they're the dominant force. It's not to do with the decision to go down to 10 men, but I think it would have made a more interesting spectacle and contest than had it been 11v11. But no, Chelsea have shown their class. They've scored one fantastic goal, and we've seen a lot of nice moves from them.
Guerrier replaced by Elvin Unizade for the final 9 minutes. Not sure it will make too much difference to the outcome. Guerrier getting a warm pat on the back from members of Qarabag bench.
Yeah, look, they've all put a shift in tonight. Qarabag players, not been overawed by the occasion, and they've followed their manager's instructions. I think he can feel quite proud of his players' efforts. It's easy when you're down to 10 men against a team like Chelsea. You could have sulked, could have taken an absolute hiding, but they haven't. Also, you've got to say that the keeper has played a part in that.
Drink water with a scoop ball over the top for Willian, just bounces through to Shayic, who probably deserves that bit of good fortune. The heavy rainfall we've seen in this second half, no doubt, making the surface a bit more zippy, and that allowed the ball to carry through to the goalkeeper. Rudiger here, back facing his own goal. Had to be assured with a pass back to Courtois. Chelsea now determined, you would feel, to hang on to the clean sheet.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason why they won't get a clean sheet here. I think if there's going to be another goal, you'd imagine it'd be Chelsea's and a fourth. And Morata, who's on the ball, has been really lively. He's been heavily involved, hasn't he, since he came on. I do think, even though I quite like Hazard playing as a false nine, in terms of the slipperiness of his movement, it's always better to have a pivot at the top of your team. Morata's a really good pivot.
Here's Rudiger with a right-footed delivery. Headed half away. Fabregas nodded into the feet of Cahill, the captain. Cahill now to roam towards the penalty area. Here's Pedro with that low centre of gravity. Showed too much of it though to Diniev. That's a good run by Diniev, but the pass intended for Enlavu between two defenders was heavy. David Luiz steps out from the back for Chelsea. We're in the last 7 minutes here on Champions League Live on TalkSport 2. For all the reaction to this week's Champions League and Europa League action, don't forget to join Andy Brassel and Paolo Bandini this Thursday from 10 o'clock for the European Football Show. We'll also be looking ahead to the weekend's matches on the continent, including the top of the table clash between Valencia and Barcelona in La Liga. You feel for the rest of the league, Valencia really need to win that game. Here's Morata trying to bring it under control inside the penalty area, dispossessed by Rezniak. Qarabag still sticking doggedly to the task as we move into the last 6.5 minutes.
I think we're going to see number 99 now, Alex. I didn't think we'd see number 91 being not the largest number on show, but Danny Quintana is readying himself below us.
Just need a number 100 and we'll top it all off, won't we? Here is Morata. He was fouled there by Rezniak. Referee says no, and Almeida, who might be the player to come off, he's looked really jaded in this second half, gives it away. That's Peliqueta into the feet of Fabregas. Fabregas now for Pedro. Willian takes over. And Willian's going to get a shot away from the edge of the area. That is a stunning goal to top off a superb European night for Chelsea. It's his second of the game. It's the Premier League champions' fourth. And what a way to book their place in the knockout stage of the Champions League. An absolute rocket from Willian.
It's been a quality performance from Chelsea and a top-class performance from Willian. He has unleashed a belter here. It is thunderbolt, right-footed, 20 yards out, and he's just got a little bit of swerve on it that takes him away from Shajic into the far bottom corner. A real fizzer from Willian, and 4-0 is probably a fair reflection of Chelsea's dominance here tonight in Baku.
Well, they were hit for 6 at Stamford Bridge, and on the eve of the Ashes in Australia, Chelsea have notched up 4 in Baku. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 4. Willian with his second of the night, having 1-2 penalties as well. Not a bad night's work for him.
Very effective and efficient, Willian. He's it's a timely reminder ahead of that Liverpool game, just what he can do. I mean, he was superb, wasn't he, in that season where Chelsea were poor, finished mid-table. He was the one shining light in the title-winning campaign. He fell out of favour under Conte. He's not really recovered from that, but it doesn't mean he's not a good player, Willian, and I think he will have a part to play for Chelsea domestically and in Europe this year. Tonight he's been superb. With Fabregas probably the pick.
The Spaniard Danny Quintana, who was carrying and not coming into the game, is on. Didn't see which of the Qarabag players
it was in Love
took their exit. There we go, and Love the striker. Quintana, the 30-year-old former Valencia player. Plenty of European experience in his legs, but surely too little too late to make any difference to the outcome here. We're into the last 3 minutes. Ian Danta standing by to bring you commentary of that championship clash between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Leeds United. Here is Quintana, deep inside the Chelsea half, but as they've done all night, Chelsea with Qarabag have had the ball. They've got their 2 banks of defenders and midfielders and already look like conceding.
Yeah, no, the back 3 have not been tested tonight. David Luiz has had his slippers on. Rudiger, not a problem. Azpilicueta, he's a Rolls-Royce defender anyway. We know that. It's been a very comfortable night's work, and I think the referee made it easy for them with that red card decision. Having seen the final replay on the monitors, I do think they probably got the decision right in the end.
Quintana dispossessed by a sliding Pedro. Pedro into Fabregas, 10 yards outside his own half, says Fabregas, looks up, plays it forward into the feet of Willian. More great play by Willian to turn away from danger, and he's fed Morata inside the penalty area, leaves one defender on his backside, but again he was a bit slow there to get the ball out from his feet. Morata, he's looked a bit not match sharp since coming on, and Well, again, an opportunity he should have gobbled up.
Yeah, in terms of
Bit rusty.
pulling the trigger, he has delayed it 2 or 3 times now. His movement has been sublime, and his link play excellent as well. But yeah, for the second time, just at the moment that mattered, he dawdled a little bit. Alvaro Morata, who's found beautifully by Willian, who turned a 360 on the spot. It was brilliant from him, and he released Morata with a defence-splitting pass, but then it fizzled out.
Here's Medvedev down the right-hand side. Gets away from Azpilicueta into the feet of Quintana, the substitute. Quintana trying to play it through the legs of Fabregas. He closed that door and gave it away. And it's the 89th minute in Azerbaijan. Qarabag 0, Chelsea 4 is the scoreline. And it's Qarabag in possession inside their own half. A very satisfactory night's work for Chelsea, maintaining an impressive record actually. That defeat to Roma was only their second in 17 group matches in the Champions League, so just 2 defeats in 18 now in the group stage.
Yeah, no, they're a good Champions League side, Chelsea. Conte, he's a manager I really rate. I know there's speculation whether he'll stay at Stamford Bridge in the long term or not, but I think they're rather lucky to have him. He's very astute tactical coach.
This is Willian down the right-hand side for Chelsea. He's going to come infield and plays it out to the left-hand side. Azpilicueta was the target. It was intercepted by Medvedev. This is Michel now inside the centre circle for the team in black. And it taken away from him by Pedro. David Luiz sprinting forward. He'll feel better for getting 90 minutes under his belt. Into Willian. Willian this time mugged of the ball by Gurayev. He's back now with the goalkeeper Shayic. Clears it upfield with the left foot. Rudiger will collect it for Chelsea. We're about to see how many added minutes there will be at the end of the game.
Not too many, I wouldn't imagine, just for the substitutions. But yeah, Chelsea have won this at Canter, and look, it takes the pressure off of that final group game against Atletico Madrid, doesn't it?
Willian, lovely turn again on the edge of the area. Finds Azpilicueta in space, and Fabregas, can he get a fifth here? Beaten away by a flying Shayic. Wasn't the most powerful of efforts from Fabregas.
That was a good drill though. It was a good old-fashioned 3-iron. Just whizzed it through the air, about 3 foot off the turf. Fairly comfortable save. One of those he couldn't really hold.
We are into 3 added minutes. The ball again is played towards the Qarabag penalty area. Tired clearance, which Willian is trying to seize upon, but he's fouled Medvedev. And it's going to be a free kick for Qarabag, just on the right corner of their own penalty area. Has he been man of the match tonight, Willian?
I think he has to be, because he scored 2 really good goals, second of which was superb individually from him. The first goal came on the back of a gorgeous team move, and of course he's won 2 penalty kicks, so yeah, he has to be the standout. I think Cesc Fabregas' distribution has been really accomplished. Even Hazard was sharp. I mean, nobody's played poorly for Chelsea. Actually, tell a lie, Zappacosta and Alonso at wing back were pretty poor. But that aside, it's been a good night's work, and that long journey home, they'll be able to put their feet up and think, you know what, we did well there. It's worth the effort.
At the moment, it's looking like another good week in the Champions League for the English contingent. I know Liverpool threw away a 3-0 lead, but they would have taken a point in Sevilla before kick-off. Good win for Spurs away in Dortmund. And Chelsea here. Can Manchester United follow it up with the point they need to top the group in Basel? That game is over on TalkSport, getting underway in around about an hour's time. As we move into the last 60 seconds or so in Baku. A little drop of the shoulder from Diniev. Again, the crowd give a roar of approval, but then he gives the ball away to Rudiger. He had nobody really up in support, the substitute, Joshkan Diniev.
Yeah, it was a Roy the Rovers run, wasn't it? And then he just ran out of ideas, gave the ball straight back to Chelsea. Got a bit of a nosebleed.
Here is Cesc Fabregas. Long pass over the top, trying to set Morata away. Brought that one down well enough, Morata, but he was offside anyway. And this free kick, Adrian, will almost be the last action of the night.
Yeah, very good night's work for Chelsea. Really impressed with them. They've done what they needed to do, and I don't think they've really had to extend themselves massively. Obviously the journey itself will have been a little bit tiring, but as for the game, I don't think they've had to push themselves physically. It's just been like a training exercise.
One final throw for Chelsea. Azpilicueta inside the Qarabag half, flicked forward by Fabregas. It's ran clear by Michel, and there is the referee's full-time whistle. Chelsea have booked their place in the knockout stages of this season's Champions League. A 4-0 win. Eden Hazard got it off and running on 21 minutes from the penalty spot after Sadigov, the Qarabag captain, had been shown a straight red card for a foul on Willian. Willian himself doubling the lead 8 minutes before half-time at the end of a superb team move. Then it was Fabregas from a softly awarded penalty, which he had to tag twice to make it 3-0 after the referee spotted encroachment, and Willian with an absolute rocket from outside the penalty area, doubling his tally and completing the scoreline. Well, they've had to travel further east than Moscow, but that return journey to London will be all that much more enjoyable, because full time it's finished Qarabag 0, Chelsea 4.